Welcome back. Glad you're here. Welcome back, my friends. Recently, this was recommended to me, and I couldn't wait to watch. I checked out the new HBO documentary about a Hollywood icon, a Hollywood legend, and one of the first celebs, I would say the first celeb, to die of AIDS in the 80s. And I'm calling this documentary my latest best thing ever, everybody. That's right. Our version of Oprah's favorite things. Well, before I give you my thoughts on Rock, it's called Rock Hudson, All That Heaven Allowed. And it covers, now before we roll this, let me kind of set this up a little bit. I want to say that one of the great things that I loved about this documentary is what it did for young folks that only know Rock Hudson as a headline. And they have kind of reduced Rock to just a headline in conjunction with AIDS and the AIDS epidemic of the 80s. What this documentary does so well is at the beginning of it, it really reminds you or tells you that Rock Hudson was right up there with Elizabeth in the constellation of giant stars in the golden era of Hollywood. Rock Hudson was an Elizabeth Taylor and a James Dean and a Marilyn Monroe and a Clark Gable. He was right up there. What you're getting ready to see is in the 80s, Rock knew he was sick. I believe at this point, Rock knew that he had AIDS. And he had signed on to guest star in the ABC primetime soap Dynasty. Now, you got to remember, we knew very little about AIDS, how it was transmitted, thus an ingredient of the hysteria surrounding it. So Rock was on Dynasty and had to film a scene where he kissed Linda Evans, who played Crystal Carrington on the show. And Rock kept his mouth shut, literally, having take after take, closed his lips in kissing Linda. And the director made him do the scene over and over again. The scene airs on ABC. It's revealed he has AIDS in the National Enquirer, and hysteria followed. And here is Linda Evans talking about the hysteria after the announcement. Listen.
What's the shocking reason Rock Hudson hid his tragic illness? Why has the news terrified his Dynasty co-stars? Inquiring minds want to know.
I want to know.
There were, to my shock, people on the set who wouldn't come into the makeup room when I was there. There were people who wouldn't work with me, and so they had to change scenes because I might have AIDS. I had personal friends who wouldn't come over to dinner. I mean, people went into fear, tremendous fear. I was never afraid I would have AIDS, no matter what they printed, what science they told me. I thought, where's your humanity, or where's your compassion? You know, what's wrong with this world right now?
Yeah, I was already a fan, but Linda Evans just comes off so beautifully in this documentary. What it reminds you of as well as how lonely it must have been for Rock during that time, because, I mean, you heard it there. I mean, I was a kid, but I lived through this. I remember the headlines. I remember in my home state of Indiana, you know, we had Ryan White. And so I know what that hysteria was like in my home state anyway. But I want to not just focus solely on the AIDS epidemic portion of Rock's life. This documentary interviews so many people that knew Rock personally, talked about Elizabeth Taylor's unbelievable friendship with Rock, talked about Doris Day's friendship with Rock. And again, it told you, it reminded you that Rock was the biggest thing going. He was in Giant, which is arguably one of the biggest movies, well, in Hollywood in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, but just one of the biggest movies ever. I mean, hello, it had the aforementioned Elizabeth Taylor and James Dean. But it also was a little sad in the fact that you know right from the beginning that Rock is really living several lives. He's pretending to be Rock Hudson, the movie star. He's pretending to be a straight man, knowing that if anything ever came out that he was gay, it would ruin his career. So he was an actor on so many fronts that's just sad, really sad. Rock Hudson, All That Heaven Allowed, is a great documentary. It's fascinating. It's heartbreaking. It'll give you all the feels, and I couldn't recommend it more. It's available right now on Max, and that's why it's my latest best thing ever. Everybody, there we go. Yeah, you forget. It's just a good-looking man. Yeah, just a good guy. I mean, just also very, very kind and nice. There wasn't one person that had a bad thing to say about him. And just go watch it. It's so good. We're going to take a break. What are you saying this week about our show? You're going to find out when we open the mailbag next. Stay with us.